The candidate must only be a citizen of the United States. Would anyone like this amendment repeated? Thank you.
Author, you are recognized for a 4-minute opening statement.
Thank you, sir. Chair Kate Cheese from the New York delegation. The task of a leader is to get his people from where they are to where they have not been. This is perhaps one of the most prominent quotes by Mr. Henry Kissinger, a former United States Secretary of State in the mid-70s. Kissinger was not a natural-born citizen of our country. In fact, he was originally a native of Germany. However, he was a prime example of American patriotism. Now, some may argue this belief, seeing as though he was not born within the borders of our own country. But in the history of all the United States politicians, it is safe to say that Kissinger strived for a brighter future for America. In his various leadership roles, he had a hunger for excellence and would accept nothing but the best. Although Kissinger was an ideal example of a political leader, he would never be able to reach the ultimate goal of a United States citizen, obtaining the responsibility as president. Thus, I am proposing to amend Article 2, Section 1, Clause 5 of the United States Constitution to allow any individual who is not a natural-born citizen of our country to run for the office of president. This proposal has intentions to reinstate the principles of equality by accentuating the importance of opportunity for all citizens to run for president. Many naturalized citizens, like Henry Kissinger, have done great things for America, ranging from academics to politics. Each and every citizen contributes to the success of our country in one way or another, and to further have equal opportunity for public service, especially at the highest and most prestigious office. With that, I would like to yield the remaining time to my closing summation.
The author yields 2 minutes to her closing summation. At this time, the floor is open for 2 minutes of non-debatable technical questions. Chair recognizes Forrest, Holland, McLaughlin, Lamb, Hunt, Candelario, Hagan, Hill, Carroll.
Do you know of how many other countries require the leaders to be from?
Yes, as of right now, there are 3 countries who have policies that are similar to what I'm proposing. It's Russia, France, and Poland.
Hayes Hagan, Commonwealth of Kentucky, Sir Chair. Pardon the confusing phrasing of this question, but for presidential candidates that were born in the United States but have moved elsewhere, what is the minimum amount of time that they have had to live in the United States before running for presidency?
I believe it's 14 years.
Thank you.
I'm not. Yes, that's correct.
Becca Lamb, California. If it is possible for one to revoke their citizenship from another country, how would they do so?
I'm sorry, could you clarify the question?
How does one go about revoking their citizenship from another country?
Well, in order for them to apply for it says in the proposal that they can't have dual citizenship, so when they go about applying to be naturalized as a citizen, they have to just revoke that and pledge their...
Thank you, author.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I don't have that information at this time.
Candelario, y yo soy de Nuevo Mexico. Could you please give me some examples of state or federal politicians that this would affect?
Of course. The most prominent would be the former governor of California, Mr. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Michigan Governor, Ms. Jennifer Granholm, Secretary of State Madeleine Albright. There's a few others who goes right off the top.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sir Chair. Lowell Hunt, New York. Are you 3 countries that allow other citizens from other countries to run for president? Are there any restrictions?
It depends on which country you're asking.
Poland.
For Poland, they just require that the citizens who are over the age of 35, they have 100,000 signatures of legal voters, and they have full electoral franchise in their elections.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Chair. Justin McLaughlin, Bay State, Massachusetts. Is it 14 years consecutively or 14 years as total?
It's 14 years consecutively.
Thank you.
The floor remains open for non-debatable technical questions. The chair recognizes Shanklin, Baker.
Franklin, Georgia. Approximately how many unnaturally born citizens reside in the United States today?
I'm sorry, I don't have that information at this time.
Floor remains open. Chair recognizes Burbach. South Carolina.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Laura Margaret Burbach, Georgia delegation. Does your proposal insinuate that, consistent with the current laws for becoming a president for naturalized citizens, the 14 years of United States residents would be immediately prior to their election as president?
The 14 years goes after they're naturalized as a citizen. Thank you.
The basic article, Saklan, I do thank the chair. Delegate, will using a foreign-born president help United States foreign policy?
I'm sorry, Delegate, but that question was debatable. Are there further questions? Seeing none, we will now move on to the con intent speaker. The chair would like to recognize the already determined con intent speaker from the floor. Chair recognizes the delegate from Oregon.
Jeff Metzger, Oregon. As much as I would love to applaud the author's intent, and I truly do wish I could support this proposal, I simply cannot. Let me just explain a little bit. I am truly for the proposition that someone who might have been born in another country but came to the United States of America as, when they were an infant or youth, should be able to run for president. However, I am against what this proposal may allow, which, for example, let's just say someone moves to the United States when they're 40 years old, and then they decide to run for president when they are 54 years old. Though I'm often a progressive in my views, I simply have to believe that immigrants of old ages will have a difficult time assimilating fully into the United States cultural and political climate. I have to say, as a citizen of the United States, for example, if I was to move to France, I would never feel comfortable running for president, and I hope they would not feel comfortable voting for me. My true loyalties would not stand with France. I would still be stuck in the whole culture of the United States, and I wouldn't really be able to truly grasp ever the largest moments in French history. I believe it's often the same way for people who might move to the United States, and so I don't think it would be right to make them eligible, all people who move to the United States, to make them eligible to run for president. Also, under this proposal, I doubt, it allows for that some bad things could happen. We could elect bad leaders from a different country. For example, I'm not saying this would happen, but if Stalin moved to the United States and stayed here for 14 years, legally he would be able to run for president of the United States. I simply just really don't think that's correct. I think we should allow leaders from other countries to move here after 14 years and run for president here. Also, another feasibility thing I have, even though I know this is a bill, this is a constitutional amendment, and so if this proposal would pass, technically under rules, it would go to the states. And simply, I believe that states have more important and pressing issues to consider right now, considering we have a massive unemployment rate, which several states have massive deficits. These are the things the states have to be arguing about and considering, not over a constitutional amendment that could backfire. And also, though the sponsor of this proposal disagrees on the question and answer, this does leave open the wording of the bill that any residents of the United States could be open, so they wouldn't necessarily have to be legal citizens. For all those reasons, I urge a negative vote in this proposition. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Delegate. At this time, the chair would like to recognize the predetermined pro-intent speaker. I believe it's Delegate Chow. Delegate, you are recognized for your 2-minute pro-intent speech. Delegate, please display your placard.
Casey Chow, representing New Jersey delegation. Thank you, Sir Chairman. We haven't had a woman president yet. Who will be the first? We haven't had an African-American president yet. Who will be... Oh, wait. We haven't had a president who came to America for the dream and discovered the drive to bring the dream to others. Since the American Revolution, who will be the first? I know that some of us want to answer this question with a resounding never. We should find candidates that were born here because apparently being born in America and always living the dream, never appreciating it, makes you more qualified to be president than someone who comes here and learns and loves and lives the American dream. Now we are voting here today for Arnold Schwarzenegger to get into office. We are not voting for a foreign president here today. We are voting to let them run, to let them have a chance and be subjected to the people's will. I don't know about you, but a person who truly knows the American dream deserves the chance to be a servant leader. We must give all American patriots the right to this chance. Give me your poor, your child, your utter masses, yearning to be free. This is the spirit of Ellis Island. Give me your love, your amazing words, your friendship, yearning for a home. This is the spirit of Blue Ridge. This proposal costs nothing to us, the people of the United States. But this proposal brings everything to us. The people of the United States who are Americans by heart but not by birthplace. My fellow delegates, I urge you to vote for the American dream, the American hope, the American love. And I yield the remainder of my time and my vote.
Thank you, Delegate. At this time, the floor is open for con pro debate, and the chair would like to recognize a con speaker. Will the delegate please retrieve his placard? The delegate has retrieved his placard. Thank you, audience. The chair would like to recognize Delegate Rex.
Thank you, Sir Rex. Excuse me, thank you, Sir Chair. Rex Oklahoma, I reserve my right to yield the remainder of my time to Delegate Owens from North Carolina.
So reserved.
Thank you, Rex Oklahoma. As Americans, we should maintain that a leader of our country be, by natural birth, an American. I would argue that the intent of this provision in the Constitution was not discriminatory, rather but practical. The President is often called the chief diplomat, and as such, this provision prevents a president from having any inherent cultural ties to other countries. The author is very well intentioned in her fight against discrimination, and believe me, I'm no xenophobe. But this provision must maintain in order to prevent any inherent bias with our presidential candidates. Thank you, and I yield the rest of my time to Delegate Owens.
The delegate yields a minute.
Thank you, Chair. Owens, North Carolina. Think about this. A person immigrates from their young age, but they have a hate for America, yet they keep it secret. They run for the president, and in us, in order to make history, we vote the first immigrant president in. Therefore, he has a hate for America and does bad things to America. And also, a previous delegate mentioned Arnold Schwarzenegger. I think I have California on my side. I don't think we need Arnold Schwarzenegger as a president because he's completely screwed California's economy. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. At this time, the chair would like to recognize a pro speaker. The chair recognizes Delegate Hussey. The undercurrent will cease.
I'm Olivia Hussey, and I'm from Maine, and I would move the right to yield all remaining time to my fellow delegate from Georgia.
So reserved.
What is an American? When you think of an American, are they Asian, white, black, or Hispanic? I don't know the answer to that. Traditionally, America has been known by the melting pot of the world. People come from all over the world to live here. We are a diverse kind of country, and that is a fact. So let me ask you this. What is the difference between someone who is born in America and someone who moves to America at age 2 from Canada? Will they be any less of a good good president just because they were born in a different place? I think not. And at this point, I don't think we can be picky with our choices. If someone is qualified and can do a good job, it shouldn't matter where they're from. Thank you, and I yield my time to my fellow
Delegate yields 50 seconds.
Thank you, Laura Margaret Burbach, Georgia Delegation. When I think about this proposal, I initially think of children who moved here when they were young, rather with their parents or as adopted, and that they should have those same rights. If that is not the case, if someone moved here when they were older, or when they did not have a sincere appreciation for American culture, I should hope that they do not find the calling in their hearts to run for the American president if they do not support the culture of the American people. And if still that is the case, I should hope that the American people as voters have the pride in their country not to elect someone who does not embody the spirit of the American people and our democracy. Thank you. I yield the balance of the time to the chair.
Thank you, Delegate. At this time, the chair would like to recognize a con speaker. Chair recognizes Delegate Waldo. The chair reminds the chamber that amendments are in order.
Waldo, Alabama. Well, I reserve my right to yield the remainder of my time to Delegate Charles in North Carolina.
So reserved.
What's communist Russia? Is that really who we want to embody? Communist Russia, who now has a democracy with the same president over and over and over again, controlling all of their laws and everything they do. That doesn't sound like democracy to me, does it to you? And I hope that even if this proposal was enacted, that we would not elect someone who wasn't born in the United States of America. You have to have natural-born pride, and pride in the United States of America to become the United States American president. Also, someone brought up an example of someone born in Canada and the United States, and what the difference was between those two people. They were born in the United States of America. That's the difference between those two people. Thank you. I yield the remainder of my time to Delegate Child.
Thank you. Thank you. Ian Charles, North Carolina. Spot. I would like to point out that if this proposal were to be enacted, then the KGB, the Mossad, MI5, any number of unfriendly intelligence agencies would work on grooming someone from a young age to eventually become the President of the United States, working under false pretenses. This is a very real threat. And if the President of the United States were to, say, become a British-controlled pawn in the international intelligence game, we would have far greater problems than we currently do. And so I firmly believe that this proposal should not pass because the security threat posed by potential spies far outweighs the benefits that allowing foreign-born citizens, even if they were true Americans at heart, to become president. Then I would like to yield the remainder of my time to the chair.
Thank you, Delegate. At this time, the chair would like to recognize a pro speaker. Chair recognizes Delegate Richardson. So reserved.
Just to address some of the previous comments stated, with our media today, I think it would be nearly impossible for someone who was a spy to infiltrate our American government. Just with all the stuff we gave Obama for being a terrorist, all that good stuff, because we didn't know where he was born, etc., etc. I think it would be nearly impossible for the media to not eat someone alive in our current state. So I just thought I'd make that clear. Thank you, and I reserve my right to use my time.
Timothy Lecce, thank you, Sir Chair. Based on some of the accusations that I'm hearing, and based on the idea of this, the reason why I support it is because of the fact that the original intent of not letting natural-born people run for something. The reason behind it goes back to the Constitutional Convention with Alexander Hamilton. The problem was that Alexander Hamilton was not well respected among the other delegates that were present. It was for that reason, because he was born in what is considered today as the Bahamas. Because of that fact, they did not want to grant him a position as such. They gave him a position as high as Secretary of Treasury, but nothing higher than that, because of the fact that they were not willing to let him run as president because he had to speak with other delegates. I reserve the remainder of my time to the chair.
Thank you, Delegate. The chair would now like to recognize a con speaker. Chair recognizes Delegate Hornbeck.
Kevin Hornbeck, Missouri delegation. I'd like to ask the author to yield to a possible series of questions.
Author, will you yield?
I yield.
America, do you believe that that is about the only argument against this proposal? Do you agree that in America we stand for equal rights and equal protection under the law?
I do.
Do you agree that the Founding Fathers fled England because of religious persecution, and since 1787 the Constitution has upheld the rights of every citizen?
That is correct.
Thus, do you not also agree that we should not be as concerned as Donald Trump is when it comes to the birthplace of our president?
I agree.
Do you agree that we should instead respect the freedoms of choice?
Delegate, do you understand that you're speaking in opposition to this proposal?
I'm interrogating the author. Am I out of order?
Not yet, but please continue.
Do you agree that we should not instead respect the freedoms of choice of every single American, that every single American citizen deserves?
Yes.
Do you agree that this proposal in no way, shape, or form diminishes the patriotism or national pride as it promotes the very diversity and sense of melting pot that we so proudly embody as Americans?
Yes, Delegate.
Do you agree that it breaks down barriers that mold our ability to acknowledge true leadership? Do you agree that presidents aren't good because of their looks, that they're not good because of their race, because of their gender, because of their creed, because of their ethnicity, because of their birthplace?
I believe they're all equal.
Delegate, you are out of order. You are clearly trying to use this speech in favor of the proposal, and we would now like to call a real con speaker to the podium.
Thank you, Chair.
Chair recognizes Delegate Bigliota.
Thank you, Sir Chair. Emily Gigliotta, New York. I reserve my right to yield the remainder of my time to Field Pierce from North Carolina.
That is your right.
The president is supposed to represent Americans, and so what better person to represent us than a true American themselves? In addition, a president should be someone who goes through our educational system, who is learning about American history and government throughout their entire lives, who grows up among the American pride that we have in this country. Being American isn't something you learn in a book, watch in a movie, or observe from afar. Being American is something you learn from experiencing it, from living in this country from the minute you are born. And it's about participating in the fundamental principles by which this nation was built upon. By doing things like what we're doing this week as we debate about what we think is best for our nation. And growing up and living among Americans is important. And yes, there are circumstances where people are not born here, but could be great leaders. And yes, some may assimilate well or might move here when they're two. But the fact of the matter is, this opens the door for a slippery slope. This leaves open opportunities for other people, not just the people who moved here when they were two. And these unnatural citizens can serve in other ways in our country, but it is not right for them to represent us as our president. And what is the difference between someone born in America is they have not been, since the moment they were born, living up in the country and learning the culture and values. And with that, I yield my time to Pierce.
Thank you, Fields Pierce, North Carolina. Thank you, Chair, and thank you, previous delegate. I'd like to say real quick that if you've been upset with the previous presidents, it is not the problem that we don't have enough people to choose from. It's the problem of the political system that we are in. So I ask you to reform the political system that we have currently and not reform the pot at which we are choosing the presidents. Thank you. I yield my time to the floor.
Thank you, Delegate. That was the final speech for this proposal, and the author is now recognized for her 4-minute closing statement. Author, you may begin when ready.
Thank you, Sir Chair. Patriots from the New York delegation. First, I just want to address a few points that were brought up during the debate. To address a point that was brought up during the time-intensive speech, I'm not quite sure I understand what the difference is between an elderly individual who is born unnaturally compared to someone who is elderly and is born naturally. just a question. And also, we can go back and forth for hours if you want, with all these hypothetical situations about what if this happens, what if that happens, what if a spy comes in. That's all well and good, everyone, but we need to realize that it's easier said than done in most cases. We live in a country that claims that prejudice is truly discarded. But why does it matter what country the president is from, or excuse me, the individual is from in order to run for president? It was not long ago in our history when we began allowing those who were not naturally born to participate in public service as statesmen, as governors, as diplomats, as congressmen, as executive cabinet members, but not for president. The United States is built upon the principles of equality, and as we are known as this melting pot of the world, we should not treat a race or a place of birth as a barrier to the ultimate American dream. One cannot choose the land of their birth, but they can choose the land that they love. With that, I would like to thank each and every one of you for your consideration and attention today. I had a great time, and I wish you all the best of luck. With that, I reserve my time as the chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you, author. The motion before this General Assembly is that proposal number 327 does pass. All those in favor, please rise and say aye. Aye. Those opposed, rise and say nay. Nay. This proposal does pass.